Hey everyone, welcome to a deep dive into the world of AR and VR. We're talking about tech that's, well, changing how we interact with the digital world. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Absolutely. It really is exciting. And we've got some great sources to unpack all of this.
Right. We'll be checking out an article from Coursera. It explains AR and VR really well.
And we'll also be drawing insights from The Now, a lesson from gcflearnfree.org.
Perfect. So, you're probably hearing these terms everywhere, but what do they actually mean? Like, what's the real deal? What's out there beyond just gaming?
Well, first let's define what we're talking about. I mean, people use these terms AR and VR all the time, but do they actually know what they mean?
Right. Okay, so augmented reality, AR. It basically adds digital stuff onto our real world.
Exactly.
Like those Snapchat filters everyone loves, those dog ears and flower crowns. That's AR, right?
Yep, that's AR.
Cool. And Coursera mentioned some really interesting examples in healthcare. Doctors can use AR to actually see veins under a patient's skin. I mean, that's incredible.
It is, and that's really just scratching the surface. One of the biggest strengths of AR is this whole visualization aspect. Like, imagine seeing the inner workings of a really complex machine right in front of you. No need to take it apart. AR can make that happen.
Wow. It's like having X-ray vision. I read about AR being used for like training and instruction too. It's pretty cool.
Definitely. The Coursera article talked about that, like picture mechanics using AR headsets while they work. They'd see repair instructions right on top of the actual equipment.
Whoa. That would be super helpful. And then there's interaction too. We're not just looking at digital stuff, we're controlling it.
You got it. It's like Tony Stark and Iron Man using those holographic interfaces to move things around. That's kind of what AR is aiming for.
That is so cool.
The Coursera article even mentioned how AR could revolutionize how we interact with machines. We could be controlling really complex systems just by using gestures or virtual interfaces. Pretty futuristic.
So AR is like enhancing our reality in some pretty wild ways. But what about VR? Virtual reality. It's not about adding stuff to our world. It's like diving into a whole new digital world.
Exactly. You're completely immersed.
Like in that GCF Learn Free video where they showed exploring an underwater world through VR. It almost felt like I was actually swimming with the fish.
And there are so many VR experiences out there. Everything from swimming with sharks to walking on the moon. But to experience VR, you typically need a headset. And there are a few types.
Right. GC Learn Free mentioned headsets like the Oculus Rift and HTC Vive. They sound amazing, but I bet they're super expensive, huh?
They are pricey. You get what you pay for, though. Amazing graphics, incredible performance, all because of the advanced tech behind them. They even use sensors and cameras to track your every move for a really smooth and responsive experience.
Makes sense. The better the tech, the higher the price tag.
Okay.
But they also mentioned some cheaper options, right? Like those phone-based headsets.
Yeah, like Google Cardboard. They use your smartphone as the screen. Much more affordable way to try out VR.
Cool. Okay, so AR enhances our reality, and VR drops us into a whole new one. But how do they, compare? Like, when would you choose one over the other? It seems tricky.
It is, but the Coursera article had this helpful table that breaks down the differences. For example, AR is way more accessible. You just need a smartphone, which most people already have. VR, on the other hand, you need a special headset.
Right. Accessibility is huge, and I imagine the level of immersion matters too, right? AR, you're still in the real world. VR puts you in a whole new digital environment.
Definitely. So it really comes down to what you're trying to do. Want to add digital info and interactions to your real world? Go with AR. Perfect for things like interactive museum exhibits or giving workers real-time data while they're out in the field.
So if I want dinosaurs in my living room, I'd pick AR. But if I want to hang out with dinosaurs in a Jurassic jungle, VR is the way to go.
Exactly. VR creates completely new experiences, things that are hard or impossible to do in real life, like training surgeons in a virtual operating room or letting people experience climbing Mount Everest. The possibilities are endless.
Wow. So we've talked about how AR and VR are different in terms of how easy they are to access and how immersive they are, and we've touched on some of their unique uses. But every technology has its good and bad points, right? The Coursera article mentioned some interesting advantages and disadvantages of each.
Absolutely. Nothing's perfect. Let's dig into those, starting with AR. One of its biggest strengths is its ability to seamlessly blend the digital and the physical. It creates a more interactive and engaging way to experience our world.
I can see how that would be great for, like, education. Imagine bringing textbook stuff to life right in front of the students. But What about the downsides? Are there any drawbacks to AR?
Well, cost is a big one, especially if businesses and institutions want to use it on a large scale. You often need special software, hardware, and people who know how to develop it. And of course, AR needs a good internet connection and devices, which can be a problem for some people.
Okay, so while AR has a lot of potential, there are some practical things to consider. What about VR? What are some of its advantages?
One of the most amazing things about VR is its ability to create super immersive learning environments. Imagine training pilots in a virtual cockpit or letting architects walk through a building before it's even built. VR opens up tons of possibilities for education, training, and even therapy.
It's like stepping into those educational videos we watched as kids.
Yeah,
And it's not just about making things fun. GCF Learn It Free pointed out that these technologies can make learning more accessible for people with disabilities too.
absolutely. No more physical barriers, and you can customize learning experiences. Pretty amazing. It really opens up education for everyone.
So AR and VR have some clear advantages,
Mm,
but I imagine there must be some downsides too, right?
for sure. Motion sickness is a common issue for some people when they use VR headsets, especially in fast-paced or really visually intense environments. And as we mentioned earlier, the cost of those high-end VR headsets and the fact that you need a powerful computer can be a barrier for some.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
VR seems harder to get into than AR, both because of the costs and the potential for feeling sick. But hey, at least those cheaper phone-based VR options are out there. People can still get a taste of the VR experience.
Exactly. And as technology keeps getting better, VR should get more affordable and easier to access. Now, you might be wondering, what happens when you combine the immersion of VR with the real-world integration of AR? That's where mixed reality comes in.
Mixed reality, that sounds super futuristic. The Coursera article mentioned it briefly, but I'd love to hear more. What exactly is mixed reality, and how's it different from AR and VR?
So, mixed reality, or MR, it takes the best parts of both AR and VR and puts them together. With MR, you're not just adding digital elements to your real world or going into a completely virtual world. You're interacting with both virtual and real objects at the same time in the same space.
Wow, so like AR and VR had a baby. Can you give an example of what that would look like?
Sure. Picture yourself wearing an MR headset. You see virtual furniture pop up in your living room like it's actually there. You can walk around it, check it out from different angles, even move it around to see how it fits.
Wow. No more guessing if that new sofa will fit through the door
Yeah.
or if it'll look weird with your rug. MR could change how we shop and design our homes. And I bet there are tons of other uses for it too, right?
Absolutely. Think about architects working together on a building design. Using MR, they could move around virtual 3D models as if they were real. Or surgeons using MO to see patient scans right on top of their view during surgery.
It's like MR gives us superpowers. This deep dive is blowing my mind already.
And we're just getting started. As we dig deeper into AR, VR, and MR, we'll uncover even more amazing applications and explore how these technologies could change the way we live, work, and interact with the world.
I can't wait to see where this deep dive takes us. Welcome back. We've covered a lot, right? AR, VR. We even got a glimpse of mixed reality.
Yeah, definitely. So now let's see how these technologies are being used out in the real world. Healthcare is a big one. VR is already making huge changes in how doctors are trained and how patients are treated.
I was reading about that in the Coursera article. Surgeons are using VR to practice complicated surgeries without any real-world risks. I mean, that's just incredible.
It really is. Think about it. They can build up their skills and confidence before they even step into an actual operating room. And it's not just surgery. The GCF Learn Free lesson mentioned VR being used for phobias and anxiety too.
Oh yeah, like helping people face their fears in a safe, controlled environment. Do you think they have a VR spider simulation for people who are afraid of spiders? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, probably. I bet they do. So we've talked about healthcare, but what about education? AR and VR have got to be making a big splash there too, right?
For sure. Just imagine, history class could be like walking through ancient Rome in VR. Or, in biology, you could explore the human body from the inside out.
Exactly. It makes learning so much more fun and engaging. And GCF Learn Free mentioned how it can create more accessible learning environments for students with disabilities too.
Yeah, that's really important. By taking away those physical barriers, AR and VR can help all students learn and reach their full potential. Okay, so healthcare and education are definitely on board with these technologies, but let's not forget entertainment. VR gaming is huge right now. I can only imagine what the future holds for immersive entertainment.
I know, right? VR gaming is just exploding. The level of immersion you get, the way you can interact, it's incredible. And it goes way beyond gaming, too. Think about virtual concerts where you feel like you're right there in the front row, or 360-degree movies that completely surround you.
Wow. It's like having your own personal IMAX theater. And don't even get me started on VR travel. You could visit all sorts of exotic destinations without ever leaving your house.
Right. You could explore ancient ruins, swim with sharks, even walk on the moon, all from your couch. It's an amazing way to experience the world, and it might even inspire people to actually travel to those places for real.
VR travel sounds amazing. Okay, so healthcare, education, entertainment, they're all embracing AR and VR. But what about shopping? Is the retail industry getting in on the action too?
Oh, absolutely. AR is changing the way we shop. Customers can try on clothes virtually, see how furniture would look in their homes, and even get personalized recommendations based on their tastes.
That's so cool. No more awkward changing rooms or wondering if that sofa will actually fit your living room. I'm sold.
Me too. AR makes shopping more fun and convenient. And for businesses, it's a great way to connect with their customers.
It seems like everybody wins. But AR and VR aren't just about improving the customer experience. The Coursera article talked about how businesses are using VR behind the scenes to train employees in lots of different industries. Manufacturing, construction, you name it.
It's a super effective way to train people without the risks or costs of real-life situations. Think about training someone to use a huge piece of machinery in VR. They can make mistakes and learn without anyone getting hurt or anything getting damaged.
That makes perfect sense. So VR is for training. What about AR? How are businesses using AR to, do things better?
Well, AR is becoming really important for things like maintenance and repairs. Think about a technician wearing an AR headset while fixing some complex equipment. They could see real-time data, diagrams, and step-by-step instructions right there in front of them.
It's like having a digital expert guiding you every step of the way. It's amazing what these technologies can do.
It really is. It's clear that AR and VR are way more than just fancy gadgets. They're powerful tools that are already changing the way we work, learn, play, and experience the world.
This deep dive has been an eye-opener. Who knows what the future holds for these technologies? What kind of mind-blowing stuff do you think we'll see next?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think we'll see AR and VR become even more integrated into our lives. It'll be like a line between the physical and digital worlds is just disappearing.
Like a personal AI assistant,
Yeah.
but even better.
Yeah. And as VR gets even more advanced, we'll be able to experience virtual worlds that are even more realistic and immersive. It's going to be incredible.
This deep dive has been amazing. I'm excited to see what the future holds for AR and VR. Welcome back to our deep dive into AR and VR.
We've talked about what they are, how they're being used in different industries. We even touched on mixed reality, that futuristic blend of the two.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. But as we wrap things up, I think it's important to remember that with any new technology, especially something this powerful, we have to be careful about how we use it.
I completely agree. As AR and VR become more and more a part of our lives, we need to think about the impact they could have and make sure they're being used for good.
Okay, so what are some of the things we should be thinking about as these technologies keep evolving? What kind of challenges might pop up as AR and VR become more common?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is our digital well-being. As the line between the physical and digital gets blurrier, we have to be aware of how much time we're spending on screens and make sure we're still having real-life experiences.
That's a good point. It's easy to get sucked into all the cool new tech, but it's important to remember to connect with people in real life, get some exercise, and just unplug every now and then.
Right. And as AR and VR become more advanced, they can become addictive. I mean, those experiences can be so immersive and engaging. It's really important for the people creating these technologies to design them responsibly.
Yeah, to make sure they don't take over our lives. What about our social interactions? Could AR and VR change how we connect with each other?
They definitely could. I mean, on one hand, they have the potential to create new ways to connect with people, even across long distances, but there's also the risk that they could replace real human connection.
That's a bit scary. Like a future where people are so busy in their virtual worlds that they forget about their real-life relationships.
Yeah, it's something to be mindful of. Technology should help us connect with people, not isolate us.
It's all about balance, right? Using these technologies to improve our lives, but not letting them take over. Okay, so we've talked about well-being and social connections. What about privacy and data security? AR and VR are collecting tons of information about us, how we move, what we like, even our emotions. How can we make sure our personal data is protected?
You're right, that is a huge issue. As these systems get smarter, they're able to gather more and more information about us. It's crucial that developers and policymakers set clear rules about how that data is collected, stored, and used. Privacy and transparency are key.
Absolutely. People need to know what data is being collected, how it's being used, and who has access to it. They should be able to control their own data and opt out if they want to.
Exactly. And here's another thing to think about: bias. If these technologies aren't developed with diversity and inclusion in mind, they could end up being unfair or discriminatory.
Right, I hadn't thought of that. Like, if the data used to train these systems isn't representative of everyone, it could reinforce existing biases.
That's right. We need to make sure AR and VR experiences are inclusive and equitable for everyone.
It all comes back to being responsible, right? Recognizing that technology reflects the people who create it. So if we want a better future, we have to make sure that diversity and inclusion are a priority.
I couldn't agree more. The future of AR and VR is really up to us. It's about using them responsibly and making sure they're used to create a better world for everyone.
This deep dive has been amazing. It showed me not only what's possible with AR and VR, but also how important it is to think about the bigger picture, the ethical implications. The future of these technologies is about more than just cool new gadgets. It's about making choices that will shape the world we live in.
Well said. As we continue to explore the amazing potential of augmented and virtual realities, let's remember that we have the power to steer them in the right direction. It's our responsibility to ensure they're used to build a future we can all be proud of.
And with that, we're wrapping up our deep dive into the world of AR and VR. I hope this has sparked your curiosity and made you think about what's coming next.
Stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, the future is in our hands.
Thanks for joining us.